Hello everyone. Today we are actually going to learn how to answer questions related to Form 4 Chapter 15, where everyone is most afraid about sexual reproduction, development, and growth. So now let's take a look at this question right here from Negeri Sembilan, talking about growth of insect. So yeah, you can see from the egg become a nymph. Nymph basically is the younger version of the grasshopper lah. Like for us human, we call it as what? Children and then become adult, right? So yeah, it's called nymph for them. And then they undergo process X to become an adult grasshopper. Will they become egg in the end? No lah. They will produce egg lah for female. Okay, so what is the process X? Yeah, that basically what are we going to learn right now. So for growth of insects, they actually divided into two. One of the growth is called complete metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? I know it's a very heavy word. And another one is called incomplete metamorphosis. So do you think this one is a complete or incomplete metamorphosis? So this one is actually called the incomplete metamorphosis. Maybe you might not know how to differentiate between them. You can take a look from your textbook. But basically, the one that will become like egg and then will become the larva, the worm, the larva, and then it will become the pupa, remember? And then it will become the butterfly. That one have more stages of growth. But this egg become nymph and straight away become adult. I mean, they will undergo a lot of process X, which is the ecdysis process. So incomplete metamorphosis is special. They will undergo this ecdysis process multiple times to become an adult insect. But for complete metamorphosis, there are four stages of growth, also starting off with eggs, and then you become a larva, and you become a pupa, then you become butterfly. I believe you learned it before lah when you are young. You are so amazed by the fact how butterfly, become butterfly. It's actually from the worm, and then yeah. So not worm, sorry, caterpillar. Okay, so let's take a look. Type of growth, yeah, basically is the incomplete metamorphosis. What is process X? It is ecdysis. I'm not going to write it again. All right, so explain why grasshopper needs to undergo ecdysis process. Okay, why butterfly don't need to undergo, but why the uh, grasshopper need to undergo ecdysis? Yeah, because they have a different growth, which is incomplete metamorphosis. But the main thing is, why do they need ecdysis? Ecdysis is actually the process where you break off the old exoskeleton, forming a new exoskeleton. So they will like initially it's like a mold lah, okay, okay, exoskeleton. So they are inside right here. Then they have to inhale a volume of air in order because the old exoskeleton is so rigid that it has to inhale. I mean, it has to break one day lah. So you undergo ecdysis to break off the old exoskeleton, and you inhale air, so you increase in the size. So basically, why it has to undergo? Because the exoskeleton is actually really hard, very rigid. So the exoskeleton, since it's rigid, it cannot grow, that's why you have to break through it so that, yeah, they must to shed off their exterior of it so that growth can occur. So basically to talk about what happens, what is their condition of their exoskeleton. Oh, it has a hard exoskeleton. That's the first point you can mention. Hard and rigid exoskeleton. So this exoskeleton will limit their growth because it always stays at the same place, right? So exoskeleton does not grow proportionately. So what does it mean by proportionately? Like us human growth curve is like a sigmoid curve, right? We grow proportionately. But for this insect, where it undergo ecdysis, their growth curve is like staircase shape, not like us human is in a sigmoid curve. Theirs in a staircase shape. So in the horizontal part is where there is a zero growth because they are still in their old exoskeleton. So once it break off from their old exoskeleton, it inhale a huge volume. That's the reason why it will be a sudden upward rise in the growth size, like growth rate. So yeah, it does not grow proportionately with the growth of insect. That's why insects with exoskeleton must shed off their hard exterior, allowing the growth to occur. So this actually consists of 4 points lah. But please do not write in point form. I'm just showing it to you. Yeah, does not grow proportionately 1 point, 1 point. Just mention either one of them lah. The main reason is to allow growth to occur lah, and must shed off their hard exterior. That's how you earn your points. Now moving on is yeah, ecdysis will occur multiple times until nymph reaches adulthood. Explain what will happen to the nymph after each process X. So the nymph will basically after ecdysis, right? There will be a new exoskeleton will be forming up, right? And then they will suck in a huge load of air, volume of air to increase their size, right? And yeah, that's basically how they get to come up from their old skeleton, exoskeleton. Yeah, so let's take a look. New exoskeleton will form underneath the old exoskeleton. So in order to break out from the old exoskeleton, it will suck in a lot of air to increase its volume. Okay, and yeah, that's basically how it increases in size. Then um, the grasshopper will expand its body again before new exoskeleton harvest. But basically, you've mentioned the first three is actually more than enough, lah, because I think the third one is kind of like repeating. Yeah, but this is basically from the mark scheme, lah. So I think that the first 3 point is the most important, lah. And yeah, if you are interested on how this ecdysis occur, you can actually check out the YouTube video. Some of the insect when they are doing ecdysis, it really looks like they are doing pole dancing. It's quite funny, lah. All right, so let's move on to the next question: the difference in growth between butterfly and grasshopper. So remember just now I mentioned like butterfly got undergo like um 4 stages, right? So yeah, but and grasshopper they are more shortest, lesser stages, but they got undergo a lot of ecdysis stages. Okay, but the main thing to differentiate between them is what is the name of the group. Butterfly undergo complete metamorphosis. Grasshopper is incomplete metamorphosis. So that basically is the most obvious way to differentiate between them. And don't forget to spell it correctly now. Morphosis. And for grasshopper, it is incomplete metamorphosis. So if you want to, revise more other points, what about other points? You can actually write on this one here. It undergoes 4 stages of growth. Meanwhile, for grasshopper, it undergoes 3 stages of growth. For butterfly, it's egg, turn to larva, turn to pupa, and then finally turn to adult. But for the grasshopper, it's egg, turn to nymph, but a lot of ecdysis happening at the same time, and then it turns to adult. And another thing you can say that, butterfly do not undergo ecdysis, and grasshopper, it does undergo ecdysis. Now moving on to this pearly set 2, also the same thing, they are comparing between complete and incomplete metamorphosis right here. So yeah, what is the type of growth for grasshopper? Incomplete metamorphosis. Name stage X. What is stage X? I think they shouldn't write stage. Oh yeah, it's stage. It's a stage, sorry. So yeah, before it become adult, right, it is called a nymph. And two differences is also the same thing like just now. Also, yeah. Um, undergo several stages of ecdysis before becoming an adult, and 3 stages of growth, but for butterfly is 4 stages of growth. And another thing you can compare is undergo several stages of ecdysis before becoming an adult, but for butterfly is do not undergo stages. I'm lazy to write lah, but yeah. And for the stages of growth in detail is egg become the larva, pupa, and last but not least become the adult. Yeah, that's how you differentiate between them. Okay. But sometimes it's actually quite risky to write incomplete and complete metamorphosis lah, unless you really can't think of any other answer. Why? Some because this answer scheme somehow didn't accept incomplete and complete metamorphosis different because before that they actually asked about this incomplete metamorphosis, complete metamorphosis. That's probably the reason why they didn't include it in this answer scheme lah. But for other states, it's more lenient lah. If even though it previously got asked about complete incomplete metamorphosis, they also allow your answer right here, yeah, to be complete and incomplete. But basically, just write out which one you're confident with lah. Because sometimes external info you scared you are wrong, like this part maybe you scared you leave out some important info, yeah, so it depends on you in the end. But I think SPM will be slightly linear when it comes to marking lah. Okay, I hope so. Okay, and now let's take a look at this staircase shape. Is basically talking about incomplete metamorphosis of this grasshopper. So you can see there are insta 1 2 3 4 before becoming an adult. And here, right here, this growth rate is yeah, the part where during they undergo ecdysis where they increase in volume upwardly. So they want us to explain what happens at the horizontal line of instar stage. So horizontal line in instar stage, their growth is still the same. So how are you going to explain? The growth is zero. It has, I mean, undergo zero growth lah. So zero growth means what? It does not increase in the length. So this is actually really obvious when it comes to explaining it lah. Okay, so zero growth and it does not increase in length. The reason why is because, yeah, it is still I mean in the exoskeleton right there. Because exoskeletons fix their shape, right? Until they undergo ecdysis, that's where they inhale volume and increase in length when they break off their old exoskeleton. So imagine us human can undergo ecdysis, gonna be damn funny. Yeah, this one looks like pole dancing. Yeah, but it's basically ecdysis process lah. A cicada emerging from its old exoskeleton. Alright, so what will happen if its whole skeleton fails to break? GG.com. Fails to break off. You didn't manage to break off. What happened? You forever stuck in the old skeleton lor. So you can actually try to understand, explain what happened to the size. Okay? And what happens to its growth? And does it able to what happens to increasing in volume? Can it able to increase its volume? No, right? So yeah, basically this is how you explain no? Air inhaled unable to expand its body, unable to increase in volume, and the size is unchanged. And yeah, the new exoskeleton cannot emerge out from the old exoskeleton. So that basically sums it all. So here is 2 marks is a K-bar question now. What happens if it feels break? Okay, so moving on to the next question right here. Oh yeah, basically, yeah, when I read, I mean, yeah, this part unable to increase in volume 1 mark, and yeah, new exoskeleton unable to emerge from the old exoskeleton, size do not increase, and growth is unchanged. Okay, and for this one, is basically compare and contrast in between process P and Q. What is P? You can see got sperm, right? Both are gametogenesis basically, and then yeah, got spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So you can check out to my previous video where I explained about spermatogenesis, oogenesis in detail. So name the process. Yeah, I mentioned it already. Name the organ where the process takes place. So the reproductive organ for male where this gametogenesis, gamete production occur is the testes. For female is ovary. Yeah, these two are very important. I know we got learned a lot of others, right? Yeah, but these two is the most important because they are the one where the production of gamete occur and the secretion of sex hormone. All right. And compare these two processes, yeah, basically a lot of points you can actually write. This diagram actually helps you a lot, honestly. It's just that they didn't label any of them. So if you didn't study about it, a bit sad lah. Because some diagram they got labeled, oh, this one primordial germ cell, this one is meiosis, this one mitosis. The product is the polar body and the oval. But this one didn't really mention, it didn't really help out the students. But yeah, basically you have to at least know a few of them. So I've mentioned it, I've explained it in the previous video. So yeah, basically you can just refer to read. All right. Okay. The occurs in testes and ovary, because just now we already mentioned it in this answer, right? So if you mention it like here, sometimes the answer scheme won't accept it because it already asked previously in that question. Like this one is just extra info in case they ask in another type of question. But yeah, okay, but it's correct lah basically. And for this paper right here is also the same thing. You can see this part. Compare and contrast gametogenesis that occur in organ X and organ Y. The difference is that you have to write this part of organ X, organ Y. The process P and Q, you just change the title of it. Yeah. And you can read the question right here, endometriosis. Endometriosis. So this is actually like accumulation of endometrial tissue lah. Okay. And yeah, this organ looks well. Okay. Explain chances for the women to get pregnant if she gets married. Okay. I mean, she gets married, but yeah, she gets married, okay, and cause like you need sexual intercourse, and then the sperm have to fertilize it, right? So not only get married, like you also need to undergo sexual intercourse, and yeah, what is the probability for this fertilization to actually occur? So first of all, you can see lah, it has an endometriosis. So, first of all, how are you going to explain the chances for women to get married? You state what happened to the chance if she got the endometrial that thingy that stuck at the fallopian tube there, because you know that fertilization will occur at the fallopian tube, right? Like the release of secondary oocyte. Then the secondary oocyte is waiting for the sperm to swim to the fallopian tube to fertilize it. But now this endometriosis issue, maybe the sperm unable to reach the secondary oocyte and fertilize it, penetrate it. So the chances would be quite low, right? So state and only explain lor. Because I know they ask you to explain. But you state what is the chances first. Low chance, then you get 1 mark already. Okay, why? Because you explain about this endometriosis. It actually will block the fallopian tube, or you can say narrow it down now. So what happened? The sperm cannot reach, right? Cannot really fertilize the secondary oocyte. Right? And then, yeah, when you cannot fertilize, no fertilization occur, diploid zygote cannot be formed. right? So causes, yeah, is one of the reason for infertility of the women. Impotency lah. Okay, I know some students get messed up. Should I write sperm, fertilized, secondary oocyte, or ovum? Actually, you can write either one of them. But normally, if you are unsure, you better write secondary oocyte because normally it's the sperm that penetrates the secondary oocyte. Then the secondary oocyte can only complete meiosis 2 to form ovum and another polar body. Then the sperm will only fertilize with the ovum. But yeah, if you are unsure, you just write sperm cannot fertilize with the secondary oocyte, will do. Okay. Secondary oocyte is the immature ovum. Ovum is already mature type. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, that's how you actually answer it, how you actually explain to it. But that one actually consists of 2 marks only lah. Normally answers key will give more than that. So she has gotten married and then experienced vomiting, nausea, dizziness, tested her urine, pregnancy test kit to determine whether she's pregnant or not, and caused by the presence of hormone in the urine. Ha! Congratulations, it's a positive result, right? So, what is the hormone? Explain. So, this test, pregnancy test, right, actually tests for one specific hormone. It's actually a very long name called human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone. It's called HCG hormone in short form. So what does this HCG hormone do? Right? If you recall back lah, if fertilization managed to occur, right, the corpus luteum, it will do what? It will continue to maintain. It will continue to maintain to release estrogen and progesterone. So why does it need to continue release estrogen and progesterone? Is to maintain the thickness of your endometrium. So why do you need to maintain thickness of endometrium? For your embryo implantation and yeah, your fetal growth, it will be at your uterus there, right? That's why you have to enrich it with blood vessels. So you need to maintain the thickness lah. If it's not maintained, that's the fact where the women will experience miscarriage lah, which is quite a sad case. So the how to say the cause of it? No, one of the issue is that if you can actually recall lah, estrogen and progesterone, right? I mean progesterone especially. What does it inhibit? It actually inhibits FSH and LH hormone. Why it wants to inhibit FSH and LH? It wants to prevent ovulation, so the women won't be pregnant 2 times maybe. And it doesn't want to stimulate follicle growth. It just want embryo to focus on that to grow, to become a fetus. So yeah, basically preventing that. But do you remember LH is the one that do what? LH, other than ovulation, other than stimulate formation of corpus luteum, it also do one more thing. It stimulate corpus luteum to secrete estrogen and progesterone, right? So can you try to relate it how scary it is? Okay, corpus luteum, you keep releasing estrogen and progesterone. And this progesterone and estrogen is to maintain the thickness of endometrium. Lah. But this progesterone has its role to inhibit FSH and LH hormone. However, I know like they don't want follicle growth and don't want ovulation to occur. I know progesterone, why it wants to inhibit FSH and LH. However, when you inhibit the LH, right, when you don't want LH, means that LH unable to stimulate corpus luteum to secrete estrogen and progesterone. Ayo, how that GG.com, right? When you inhibit LH, you inhibit the stimulation of corpus luteum, to secrete the estrogen and progesterone. So what happened? What should we do about it? Because normally when fertilization occur, the estrogen progesterone level always maintain a high level. Yeah. But this pregnancy test is not to test progesterone estrogen because whole menstrual cycle, of course, unfertilized, I mean, no fertilization, we still got estrogen and progesterone hormone. So you can't use it to test the estrogen and progesterone. You have to test another hormone. Can you actually continue to stimulate corpus luteum to secrete estrogen and progesterone if this progesterone end up inhibit the LH? Right? Scary, right? So there's another hormone that helps it lah. Okay, it's this thing called HCG hormone. So this HCG hormone actually ensures that corpus luteum will continue to release estrogen and progesterone, although progesterone will inhibit the release of LH. So HCG is the one that help out lah. So it won't rely on LH anymore. It will rely on HCG to keep uh, ensuring the corpus luteum to keep releasing estrogen and progesterone. That basically sums it all lah. I'm explaining it in detail lah, but basically you just explain it is a HCG hormone. If you can remember the full name, I encourage you to write it out. But if you can't remember, then probably you just write HCG. But I think probably they will accept lah. Won't be so cruel, but so it is actually where it produced. It is produced by placenta. What is the role? Yeah, it is basically to ensure corpus luteum to continue secrete estrogen and progesterone. So this hormone actually present in the pregnant woman only. Alright, so the hormone is very important. You must at least get this mark lah. Okay. And normally it will start, the HCG will continue to, be secreted by the, it will be continue secreted to ensure the corpus luteum to secrete estrogen and progesterone. However, actually, eventually lah, after 4 months like that, the corpus luteum will eventually degenerate. So the placenta will be the one that replace the role of corpus luteum to continue secrete estrogen and progesterone after the 4th month of pregnancy. Okay, so now let's move on to this question right here. It's basically talking about twins, and you can see that their placenta is shared, and this one is a separated placenta. So you can basically see it's a different type of twins lah. So describe the differences between twins A and twins B. So how can you describe? So when you do differences, right, better to write it in table lor. But this one 3 marks, maybe you think I write in table a bit 麻烦. But table is actually more easier for the marker to identify your marks lah. But it also depends on you. But for structure question, it's better to not. Structure question you write it in normal sentence lah. But since this one is in the essay question, you can start to draw it in table lah. So this is basically identical twin A. Twin B is they have separated placenta. It is a fraternal twins. So what are something you want to differentiate between them? So fraternal twins, their gender can be the same or can be different, can be boy and girl. But for identical, their gender surely same and they look very identical. Because some twins, right, you realize even though they same gender but they don't really look alike, maybe because they are fraternal twins. And the reason why identical twin occur is because the zygote, the embryo lah, it divides into two. Okay, but for the fraternal twins is basically they have two embryo. Yeah, two ovum being fertilized. That's why I got two embryo, and it won't divide. Sorry, yeah, basically two embryo. So yeah, product of fertilization of one ovum and one sperm forming one zygote, and this one is two sperm, two ovum. So it's like coincident lah. The women release two secondary oocyte, and there are two sperm also manage to penetrate both of them. So it's the chances is actually quite less lah. But there are also risks of having twins. Not all the time. Oh, twins very good ah. Sometimes the mother also very, struggle a lot lah because you are conceiving two baby at the same time. Sometimes one of the twin managed and didn't manage to survive in the end. Some ended up getting strangled by the umbilical cord. Sometimes there are cases quite sad one lah. So yeah. Alright. So you can see it has its own placenta. That's how you actually differentiate from the diagram lah. So you can actually use the diagram to help you to answer it actually. And you can talk about the gender, their physical appearances, so now let's move on to talking about the high blood pressure that causes structure P to not function. Explain the effect on this condition on her pregnancy. So normally for essay question, you state the unknown, you can get marks already. Even though they ask you to explain effect, right? They didn't ask you to state the unknown P, but you go and state what is structure P, right? You can actually get marks. Quite cool, right, for SPM? Yeah. So structure P is the placenta. So what is actually the role of placenta? A lot of roles, right? So that's the reason why I show you this thing. So these are the one I highlighted is basically the roles of placenta. Okay, but the question says what? I'm not trying to tell you to copy all the roles of placenta lah. The question are telling you that the placenta cannot function well. So what is the effect on this condition on her pregnancy? Okay, so how are you going to explain if the placenta cannot function well? This is where students start to panic already. But for SPM, right, you don't have to panic. You think of their normal function first. Okay, then you write it in a negative way, right? So you can see this part. Okay, glucose, amino acid, hormones, antibodies, and I mean, you can mention two of them also very good already lah. Okay, can diffuse. I mean, absorb is better to write diffuse lah. From the mother's blood into the fetal blood capillary. This is the role because it acts as an exchanging site, and then yeah, diffuse. But now you said that, I mean, other than that, it also, yeah, endocrine organ that ensure corpus luteum, replace corpus luteum to produce estrogen and progesterone. And other than that, it also have this function on protecting the fetus from dangers and chemical substance. It also prevents teen blood vessels. So all these are the roles of placenta. But how can I explain the effect if this placenta doesn't work? You write it in the opposite way. Okay, so you can write it as cannot diffuse from mother blood into the fetal blood capillaries. Same goes for this one, cannot diffuse. And then cannot replace. Basically cannot produce progesterone and estrogen to maintain the endometrial thickness. So this one will cause the miscarriage to occur lah. Okay, you can say it will result in a miscarriage lah. And I mean, not only blindly writing it, obviously, you can also write the after effects of it, like aftermath of it. And protects fetus initially, but now cannot function, so unable to protect fetus from dangerous substance. And then the blood ended up will mix and yeah, unable to prevent fetal blood vessel from bursting because the mother high blood pressure is very high, so end up will burst it. And unable to prevent the agglutination blood since the blood end up being mixed, the aftermath of it is agglutination of the blood. If the fetus doesn't have the same blood group lah. So you can see this answer scheme right here. They are basically writing the opposite of it. So you don't have to panic when they are asking some K-bar question. It's actually quite direct question, just that you have to switch your words around. If you end up writing all the row of placenta, I'm so sorry to say that, yeah, you won't actually get your mark lah, because they want you to answer to the question, not just blindly memorize your textbook, right? So in fact of this condition, write it everything in the opposite way, since they say cannot function. Cannot function, what are the functions that the placenta do that placenta now cannot do? So yeah, basically it's all these things. Thickness, implantation, miscarriage, mix, and then agglutination. Yeah, basically that sums it all up. All right, now let's move on to this. Oh, this one I already mentioned it from. Oh yeah, okay. The second question I already explained it from the previous video. Right, how do you actually explain the meaning of premenstrual syndrome? So sometimes you see, especially boys lah, not boys lah, but sometimes you see your friend, okay, female friend, or your peers, I mean your best friend, suddenly their mood is so bad, damn bad, okay? Like a little bit stuff, then they angry or something lah. Like it's actually because, I mean, some of the reason is due to premenstrual syndrome lah, or maybe that day she really not good lah. But yeah, premenstrual syndrome is one of the factor that will, cause emotional and physical symptom experienced by the women lah. Before a menstruation begins, a week before lah, that normally what it happens lah. So I hope, guys could be more considerate, your friend could be more considerate about it lah. But sometimes we will talk about, never mind. Okay. Yeah, so it is an but normally still female that having menstruation, right? Period lah. Also have a bad mood one, okay? Yeah, because you are dealing with something bad. Not bad lah, but yeah. Okay. So emotional and physical symptom experienced by women a week before menstruation begins and then caused by changes in estrogen and progesterone hormone level. So sometimes you realize, oh, why I suddenly today damn moody one? Maybe because of premenstrual syndrome, so you can try to check out probably lah. Yeah. Okay. Changes in the estrogen and progesterone hormone. There are another thing is called the menopause lah. So it's different from premenstrual syndrome. Menopause is normally when women age already. Yeah, that's where menstrual cycle stops already lah, because for old people, I mean elderly, sorry, elderly, their hormone level all very low lah, and a very low metabolism. So sometimes you see some of the auntie the menopause, they tend to be, slightly bigger in size. It's because they have lower metabolism and they undergone menopause lah. That's one of the issue lah. Okay. And normally, pregnant mother, after they gave birth to child also lah, you gain a lot of weight. It's their sacrifice lah. So we have to be grateful to our mother, for sacrificing all this to conceive us. So yeah, try to, make them happy, make them proud, make them not regret for having you, for having. Okay, so okay, based on the diagram, discuss relationship. This one I actually mentioned it in the previous video, so you actually can take a look at it. Yeah, watch it. And now let's continue to the next one right here. Quan X, so nice name, had a difficulty conceiving naturally, okay, because of her fallopian tube were blocked. So they want to, yeah, they still plan to give birth to their own child. They don't want to adopt child. Adopt and having your own child is totally different feeling, lah. Your own child is, your own blood. I mean, you can see that your own child that acts like you also. Okay. looks like you also, the way the action also reminds you when you are young, maybe. So yeah, the it's really different feeling lah than adopting a child, unless that parents is uh really desperate and they really 0% on conceiving a children, then yeah, no choice lah. So one modern technique that can help couple to conceive is the most modern technique right here is called the test tube baby lah. So any one of you are actually test tube baby, yeah, it's actually quite cool lah because if you are a test tube baby, it means that you are a plant. You are planned lah. You are not an accident lah. Because your parents really wanted to have a children that they willing to spend the money because it really costs a lot lah for this IVF. Okay, you need specialists, yeah, gynecologists, those people. And your mother, the mother also have to sacrifice a lot because they have to inject hormones on their tummy, which is really painful. Like you can actually take a look from the YouTube video lah. For IVF, the pregnant, I mean the mother is the one that sacrificed the most lah. So yeah, first of all, you state what is the modern technique, in vitro fertilization. So what actually occurs in vitro fertilization? In vitro means the fertilization that happens outside. So I actually show you this picture right here so you can actually understand it well lah. Basically the reason why I say the mother have to inject a lot of hormones to their tummy around their tummy there like it's actually damn painful and they have to inject it frequently lah. So it's actually to stimulate their follicle to grow, stimulates the follicle growth until it matured. Then they will use this method. It's called laparoscopy method. You don't have to remember it, it's also fine. They will take out the secondary oocyte from the ovary. So yeah, it's damn painful one. Yeah, so imagine the pain the mother has gone through this IVF technique, right? So yeah, they will actually use some needle or something lah. Okay, they will actually poke it out and take off the secondary oocyte cautiously, and then they put it in a petri dish with the culture solution. Then they are two ways to fertilize it. Okay, one of the way is that they just straight away mix, I mean pour, add the liquid full of sperm, concentrated sperm into the same petri dish and wait for it to fertilize on its own. But another way is that they will pick one of the sperm to use needle to inject it inside, inject the sperm in, like force the sperm to fertilize it because maybe the male side, their sperm is not really good. Yeah, so they need the second method where you inject the sperm, pick one very healthy sperm, inject it. But another way, if the sperm works well, lah, I mean the most common way, if the sperm works well, then you just add the concentrated sperm with the secondary oocyte together and let it fertilize. Then you just leave it for a few days, and when it turns to embryo, it's time for them to put them back into the uterus. Yeah. So this is how it actually works. That's the reason why, yeah, the secondary oocyte is removed from the ovary and placed in a petri dish with culture solution. Then the sperm is added with the secondary oocyte in the petri dish. Or you want to write it in another method where the or one healthy sperm is chosen to be injected directly lah, into the secondary oocyte for fertilization. Because this one they didn't provide any diagram, so you don't have to force yourself to follow it. So it's either one of them you do, but normally students would answer this way lah. You just mix it together. Mix a bit weird lah, but yeah. Okay, fertilization occur from zygote. Zygote you develop into embryo. Then once it turns to embryo, only transfer back. So it takes like few days. Transfer it back to the uterus. Why? For implantation to occur. Then yeah, embryo will develop normally into fetus, and they will be under observation lah. Because in case the progesterone hormone and estrogen level drop, because yeah, so sometimes they need hormone treatment to maintain it lah. Yeah, so that's basically what is about on IVF. All right. So for the she was confirmed to be pregnant after the third month, but she unfortunately experienced bleeding due to change in hormonal levels. So cause of the situation experienced by 1X. So how to explain why she experienced bleeding and suggest ways to overcome it. So it's basically because of the you can see that after third month so basically due to the progesterone level is slightly less low. So corpus luteum fails to develop progesterone. Most importantly is this progesterone hormone. So it unable to maintain its thickness, cannot support the fetus, and it may eventually lead to miscarriage. Alright? And how do you actually overcome? Because they asking you ways to overcome more than one ways. Since this one is 4 marks, you can't explain all 4 marks on this experience bleeding part. You have to allocate 2 marks for here, 2 marks for here. That's how teacher actually mark it. Even though here you mentioned the full points, but you didn't mention about this, you still eventually get 2 marks only. So how do you overcome it? Is basically get the hormone treatment lor. You okay, yeah, get progesterone injection, yeah, helps thicken the endometrial wall to support the fetus development. So that's how you actually overcome it. All right. Now let's take a look at SBP paper. Effect to the pregnancy is structure out suddenly degenerate during first trimester of pregnancy. Basically, every time when you want to answer the essay question, you see there is an unknown, right? So you state what is the unknown. R is corpus luteum. Yay, you get 1 mark. Okay, so yeah. And basically, when corpus luteum fails to maintain, degenerate, since corpus luteum is the one that continue to secrete estrogen and progesterone, right? So now don't have already means the what happens to estrogen progesterone reduce and then miscarriage occur because the endometrium will shed off or disintegrate. Then the thickness will thin and embryo fails to implant to it. I think fails to develop is better lah. Yeah, because they said it's the first trimester of pregnancy. Oh, fails to implant and develop well lah. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next question right here. She took contraceptive pills containing hormones secreted by structure R in high concentrations starting on first day of menstruation every single day. So effect of taking this contraceptive pill of on the secretion of hormone Q and process P. So what is hormone Q and process P first? Hormone Q is the one that is released by pituitary gland, right? And then process P is actually the lut process P is the ovulation. Hormone Q, pituitary gland release LH and FSH. So this one, which one do you think it relates to it? LH is the one that stimulates ovulation, right? So it is the LH hormone. So what are you going to explain first? So you are going to explain what does the contraceptive pill contain? The hormone that it contains. It contains a high level of progesterone. All right. So contraceptive pill contraceptive pill has a high level of progesterone, right? And then this high level of progesterone, what does it do? It will inhibit the secretion because they want you to relate to the secretion of hormone Q. Inhibit the secretion of LH hormone, hormone Q. So when you inhibit secretion of LH, luteinizing hormone, you actually inhibit ovulation from occurring, right? So you inhibit ovulation from occurring, secondary oocyte not released. So even though there is a presence of sperm, but fertilization do not occur because there is no secondary oocyte release in the fallopian tube. So contraceptive pills are normally taken like it's like birth control lah. Yeah, it contains a high level of progesterone, basically to inhibit the luteinizing hormone. When you inhibit luteinizing hormone, ovulation do not occur, fertilization do not occur. Ta-da. It's like a chain effect kind of thing. This chapter lah. Okay, now let's move on to the next question talking about structure role of X in relation to the structure R. So structure R is basically corpus luteum. So you just relate to the corpus luteum only. Don't like mention other role of placenta lah. You have to mention that placenta is the one that will replace the corpus luteum, right? Because corpus luteum after the fourth month of pregnancy, it will degenerate. So that's one of the point you can mention. So degenerate how then? Steady from PP, this placenta is the one that help it out. So it will replace the corpus luteum wall to maintain the thickness of endometrium wall. Maintain thickness, replace corpus luteum and maintain thickness. So yeah, placenta acts as an endocrine organ. Placenta secrete progesterone and estrogen. So yeah, it basically replaced the role of the corpus luteum to maintain the thickness of endometrium wall. But this one just too much lah, so you basically mention two of them will do. Moving on to the next question is basically showing you condom and contraceptive pill. So newly married couples are not ready yet to have children. They chosen contraceptive method as shown in it. Discuss advantage and disadvantages of it. I understand that um our syllabus KSSM for biology, they actually cut out a lot of it. Like even this part also cut out already lah. I think it's actually quite important lah. But yeah, they eventually cut it off a lot of topics for biology. But sometimes they still will come out lah. They still have a chance to come out. So you must to at least know lah. Since you actually learn it in Form 1. Yeah, you actually learn it in Form 1 production. And it was overwhelming, right? So I remember that chapter was so heavy that it traumatized me. Like science really traumatized me. Then I score really bad in science. Damn bad. Okay, so yeah. How are you going to explain? So you actually have to allocate marks for both of that. Like for condom, maybe you write, advantage, disadvantage, and contraceptive pills too. Yeah, you basically have to equally divide it lah. Don't just only explain about condom or contraceptive pills. So advantages. Okay, actually a lot of them lah. So these are the answers to it. Advantages, yeah, you can actually plan the pregnancy, control the birth, prevent accident, I mean unwanted pregnancy, prevent sperm from entering the uterus so that fertilization do not occur. Prevent STD. What is STD? STD is actually sexual transmitted disease. So one of the sexually transmitted disease is the HIV virus, the AIDS, HIV. Yeah, that is can be transmitted sexually, like the vaginal fluid, seminal fluid. It can be also, yeah. If you share the needle, I mean the blood, yeah, also get to transmit. But normally it's due to, yeah, sexually transmitted disease like HIV. So let's say that person is a HIV patient. So yeah, basically, yeah, they have to wear condom to actually prevent from transmitting it because HIV is actually really detrimental lah. After 10 years, you become AIDS patient, then yeah, the immune system is really weakened, really like really hard to cure it. So yeah, reduce abortion rate. Yeah, because if there's an unwanted pregnancy, it will eventually, you know, will not improve the harmony in marriage. Okay, there will be arguments and then end up abort the child. I also said so. Reduce abortion rate and is easily, yeah, it's widely available. You go any market, you actually see it lah. But yeah, having the courage to buy it then. Okay, not a permanent methods and it does not involve surgery. All right. So for surgery, some of it is permanently will forever, unable to conceive child anymore. So it's better not to have a surgery if you are planning for the further pregnancy. And disadvantage, yeah, it must be used in every sexual intercourse. Feel uncomfortable, and some people may be allergic to it. And it's possible to leak out and then end up uh, fertilization occur if the sperm is strong enough. So the next one right here is the contraceptive pills. So the advantages is, yeah, also same thing, you can control birth, prevent fertilization, reduce is also the same thing. But the disadvantages is that you have to take it frequently to ensure that you get to keep lower down the LH hormone all the time. If you didn't take frequently, end up maybe your LH hormone spike up and ovulation occur, release of secondary oocyte, get to fertilize. So it must be taken every day. And sometimes you can also have side effects of it. Sometimes your hormone level is not really good or your whole menstrual cycle get messed up. Yeah. And maybe you are wondering lah, eh, okay, and yeah, cause hormonal imbalance. So maybe you are wondering like how athlete people, especially I mean female athlete lah, what if that day they got menstruation, GG.com, right? They can't perform well, right? They got muscle cramp that ayo, say lor, right? So they actually do take pills where the pills actually quite similar to contraceptive pill, which contains a high level of progesterone. It's not that they don't want to pregnant. It's that I mean, it's not that they don't want to pregnant. It's that for the female athlete, right? They want to continue to maintain the endometrium thickness. Why they want to keep maintain? It's just basically to prevent. Yeah, it also have a high progesterone level for the athlete that consume it. So it keep maintain endometrium thickness um to prevent the shedding of it. Because the reason why it's shedding is because low progesterone level, then it start to shed off. So athlete they also take pills which is quite similar to contraceptive pill containing high level of progesterone to keep maintaining endometrium thickness. So why you want to prevent shed? To prevent menstruation, or because if I mean the period occur, yeah, maybe it will affect their performance lah. So that's one of the sacrifice lah. Okay, and yeah, this part is couple do not have child although more than 10 years. So sad they plan to have a child biologically. So yeah. And what are the advice and suggestion you can give to them? So this one also the same thing. It has a endometriosis, blockage of fallopian tube, maybe due to the tumor growth or something lah. So it's either you straight out use IVF or because you IVF you just involve taking out the secondary oocyte and you put back the embryo ma. But if you just want to do it in a natural way, if you still want fertilization to occur here, you don't want IVF, very expensive or something, or you don't want, many other factors lah. You can actually maybe go to some experienced specialists. Maybe they actually remove the blockage of it lah, so that secondary oocyte, they can fertilize it already. Yeah, and people with heart problem, okay. So what are the advice and suggestions? So you have to uh give them, for this wife, yeah, and the husband that have heart problem, you also have to mention this issue lah. Okay, try to have a healthy lifestyle. Okay, so in vitro fertilization, and yeah, it's also the same thing like what I mentioned just now lah. Okay, and that's another way is where you involve another mother, surrogate mother. So yeah, actually IVF is not only you have to return the embryo back to the mother for it to conceive. You can also, if that mother not able to, you can have a surrogate mother. So the surrogate mother most probably get paid for it lah. Okay, of course you get paid lah. So you have to experience all the process of being pregnant. Okay, so which involve the third party law, and it's taken out from the wife. Then the sperm from the husband is fertilized with the ovum. Then if you insert it with the third party, the surrogate mother, then yeah, the baby come out from the surrogate mother. But most importantly, remember, the genetic content won't look like the surrogate mother, or it actually looks like, the genetic content consists of the wife and the husband one lah, don't worry. It's just that they sort of like tumpang kind of the surrogate mother is the one that conceived the child. But the child, the genetic content is actually from the wife and the husband. That's the reason why, right? Can I actually mention this? Will I get reported? Uh, ah, for gay couples, homosexual couples, gay or lesbian couples, when they want to have child, right, they can also use IVF lah. Because lah, two same gender, of course you can't get a child, right? Because you need one sperm and one ovum. So in order for them to get a child, maybe one of the partner, okay, let's say it's the guy, okay, two guys together. Okay, so they will get one of the sperm from one of the guy and fertilize it with the donor of it. It can be donor of the sperm. It depends lah. If different gender, then yeah, different case lah, vice versa lah. So with the donor of the ovum, let's say lah. Donor of the secondary oocyte. So they will fertilize it and then put it in one of the surrogate mother. Maybe can involve another mother lah. Yeah. So for girl situation is two girls and then yeah, one of the secondary oocyte. And then there are actually sperm bank, this thing. Yeah, donate the sperm for couples that cannot conceive child. So yeah, basically the women one, secondary oocyte, one of it lah. And then with a donor of the sperm. So it fertilized to it and ta-da. And then the embryo will be yep, inserted back to the uterus of the couple, one of the partner, and yeah, that's how they conceive child lah, okay? So it's quite cool, but I don't think it's allowed at here, okay? So all right, now let's continue. Yeah, the another method is through surgery lah, to remove the blockage and yeah, enable secondary oocyte to move for fertilization to occur, implant. And yeah, this one better to write, yeah, embryo to move for implantation. So for the guy, right, you have to advise him, okay, to have a healthy lifestyle. You need to have a healthy lifestyle. At least you can see your children, to grow up to a huge adult, right? Yeah, you don't want to miss out any important moments with your family. Practice a balanced diet. So yeah, health is really important, lah, right? Take care of yourself so that you can love others. So you have to love yourself first. All right. Wow, this is long. Okay, secondary Selangor Set 2 paper right here is talking about this. Huh. Egg. This is the larva. So this one is basically a complete metamorphosis. This one is adult butterfly. So type of growth that occurs through the insect, it undergo complete metamorphosis. What are the stages? Yeah, so these are the stages. And what happens in detail? It will lay eggs. The eggs hatch into a larva or caterpillar. It lead, it lives to grow. Yeah, very cute. Yeah, I know. And then it will become a pupa. Then it emerges from a pupa and matures into adult. That's how you actually explain it. This one consists of 4 marks lah. Okay, and then they want you to explain about this part, embryo development in the reproductive tract. So describe the development of embryo after fertilization until implantation. So basically, right now you have a diploid zygote. And then it will undergo repeated mitosis to become morula, blastocyst, cyst, and then eventually become the embryo. So during the implantation is when it becomes a blastocyst. Yeah. So that basically sums it all. But if you want to write it in detail, since the answer we provide in detail lah. It will undergo multiple division of mitosis to form two-cell embryo, continue to become a morula, then morula will develop into blastocyst, and yeah. And the movement of embryo occurs along the fallopian tube until it reaches uterus. So the movement, right? Yeah. The fallopian tube actually has cilium. Remember what you read in the trachea? Our trachea got cilium to sweep off the mucus, right? Yeah. Our fallopian tube also have a cilium to aid for the movement of embryo to the uterus for the implantation of the embryo. So blastocyst implanted into endometrium and it continues to grow into the movement of blastocyst. I think it's better to write. Yeah, occurs and then once it get implanted, then it only go into embryo. So yeah, okay, how you actually understand it is you just write it out in this loop process. Morula, blastocyst, and embryo. So zygote undergo repeated mitosis, morula. Morula will be developed to form blastocyst. Blastocyst will, yeah, will just form, will implant in the uterus and embryo. Yeah, it will eventually grow into embryo. That's how you actually sum it all up. But of course, don't answer it in this way. You answer it in a sentence, lor. In a paragraph form for essay question. Alright, so this one talking about having miscarriage at the 3rd month of gestation caused by failure of implantation of embryo. She wants to get a child and plans to get pregnant again. So how tips to carry out to prevent miscarriage lah? So it's basically because miscarriage is due to low level of progesterone and then unable to maintain the thickness of endometrium. Unable to maintain, ended up shedding, right? So now we are going to do this rise up the progesterone level. So they will actually talking about another yeah. I think it's better to at first mention like hormonal treatment with progesterone lah. Yeah. Inject hormone with progesterone. Wait, they said what? Suggest a hormonal treatment. Explain the progesterone. Oh, okay, maybe you can say, yeah, it consists of progesterone, or then you mention what is the uses of this progesterone. Yeah, thickening, implantation, inhibits, prevents miscarriage lah. And yeah, inhibits the secretion of FSH and LH, inhibits development of follicle, inhibits ovulation. Because inhibits LH means that it inhibits ovulation. FSH inhibited means inhibited the development of follicle. Alright, now let's take a look at this last question. Okay, is it C? Oh, okay. Explain the differences between twin J and K. Yeah, is you can see that they share the same placenta. J is individual placenta. So obviously J is a fraternal twins, K is a identical twin. So differences like what I mentioned just now already. And explain the consequences of abnormality on the formation of twins if there is a incomplete division of the embryo. So embryo fails to divide completely lah. So let's say lah, embryo. Okay. Normally for identical twins is the embryo will divide into two. But now it incomplete division. Okay, supposedly it will divide into two of them. But now it's incomplete division of embryo. So it will lead to what type of twins? Yeah, it will lead to a conjoined twins. So some of their organs will eventually, because they start to develop, and yeah, eventually some of their organs conjoin together lah. So this is basically the explanation. Formation, I mean conjoined twins. So some internal organs will be shared, and yeah, you will be really limit the movement, and yeah, do not have a privacy time. And some of them will die before they are born and tend to have shorter lifespan since they share same internal organs lah. But some of them like they manage to like really undergo hours long of surgery to separate the organs lah, so that both of them are separated. Then yeah, they are finally free from each other. I mean, you still need a privacy time sometimes, you know, it will lead to inconvenience sometimes. So yeah, normally if there's a conjoined, they will try their best to like think of a way to separate. If you know separate will lead to death, then really quite sad lah. So yeah, okay. So yeah, I think that's all for today. It's quite a hectic lesson today. And yeah, I hope you really understand today's lesson. And then I will basically see you in the next video. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.